Welcome to PTE Academic Ask an Expert. The question that we are going to take today is how to improve speaking. Now, this is something that we have been asked hundreds of times. If we look at all the comments on all our YouTube videos, then this is something that appears very often. People want to know how they can improve their speaking. In this video, I'm going to share some quick ways to improve your speaking for PTE exam. And these are proven methods. They definitely work. So all that you have to do is follow these instructions, put in your time and effort, and you'll see that your speaking will improve. So watch this video till the end to learn all these methods. Now, the very first thing when we are trying to improve anything is to understand ourselves and understand our current level of skill and understand the problems that we are facing. If I ask you what your speaking problems are, then do you have an answer to that? Do you know that already? It's very important, right? And it's not enough to just say that I'm getting a low score in speaking, what shall I do? Before that, you should know why that happens. What exactly is your speaking problem? That's something that we are going to look into detail in this video. Now, your speaking, it's mainly about your fluency and pronunciation when it comes to PTE academic. Yes, that's what it's about. Your problems, mainly they will also be either about fluency or about pronunciation. You solve these two problems and you will see that your scores in speaking will improve. Now, fluency, the simplest way, if I have to tell you in one sentence how you can improve your fluency, the answer is speak bigger chunks of sentence in one breath. Okay, the more you can speak without stopping, without hesitating, without thinking, the more fluent you will come across. Okay, the computer will think, yes, this person doesn't need to think about before he's speaking. He must be very good in English. He's very fluent, so I will give him a good score. So speaking bigger chunks of a sentence in one breath will improve your fluency. Now, let's look at an example. Here's a passage. Let's say, this is a read aloud kind of a question. And one by one, we will look at different ways in which someone can read this and how that impacts the fluency. So, the very first one, which a lot of people who don't get a good score in their speaking, they speak like this: a family is the basic building block of this world. A child is born in a family and learns important lessons in the family. So they will pause after every word or every two words. Okay, the words don't link properly. They don't know where to pause, they don't know where to put emphasis on a word, and mainly because they hesitate so much and they pause so much that they lose all the marks in fluency. Now let's do a slight improvement to this. What I've done is you only look at the full stops and you try to speak there, right? A family is the basic building block of this world. A child is born in a family and learns important lessons in the family. Parents, brothers, sisters, grandparents, and other relatives create a small world for the child. Interactions with the small world shapes the child's behavior for the future. Now, if someone only stops at the full stops, he will definitely sound more fluent than before, than stopping at every word or every two words. But the problem is that, first of all, a very few people can speak like this. Okay, even you'll have to be very good in your speaking skills to be able to speak a whole sentence in one go without making mistakes. So if someone who's not a native speaker, he tries to speak like this, there's a good chance you will make some mistake. You will stumble on some of these words. And the other disadvantage is that even though you sound more fluent, but you also sound too rushed. It doesn't tell you, that you can differentiate between which word is important, which word is not so important. okay, how the flow should be. So this is an extreme, right? But you fluency doesn't mean that you have to rush like a train. This is certainly an improvement on the last version where we were speaking, where we were pausing after every word or every two words, but this is too rushed. So let's do one more version. Now we will stop at the commas. So a family is the basic building block of this world. A child is born in a family and learns important lessons in the family. Parents, brothers, sisters, grandparents, and other relatives create a small world for the child. Interactions with this small world shapes the child's behavior for the future. Now, compared to the last one, this definitely sounds better because I paused at parents, brothers, sisters, grandparents, so it showed that I at least know when I'm speaking a list, what's the relationship between the different words. So this is definitely an improvement on the last one. Now let's do another improvement. Now the larger sentences, we'll just break them into smaller pieces. And what we'll do, wherever we've got a word like and, but, however, etc., these connecting words, we will break them there. And if that kind of a word is not present in a large sentence, then we'll just break it in the middle. So this is how, this is how it looks like. Now in this, I've added, just a second, I've added another break here before an and here another break, and then this was a large sentence, long sentence, but there was no and here, or a but or any words of that kind. So I've just randomly broken into two here. Okay, now let's try to read this. A family is the basic building block of this world. A child is born in a family and learns important lessons in the family. Parents, brothers, sisters, grandparents, and other relatives create a small world for the child. Interactions with this small world shapes the child's behavior for the future. Now this sounds very good. I paused at the full stops, commas, I even paused in the middle. So this is what you have to aim for. Okay, so follow the steps, of course, the full stops, the commas, and then break the longer sentences in the middle. If you do that, you will see that your fluency will improve, will definitely improve. Now there's another thing which is about avoiding some common pitfalls. Hesitation and correction. If you know the method, if you have practiced, then there's no need for you to hesitate. This is just an exam. I know it's a very important exam, but you don't have to be afraid. So you don't even have to be afraid of making mistakes while speaking. So don't hesitate in questions like read aloud, repeat sentence. If you make a mistake, just keep going. Okay, avoid those pitfalls. Now what you have to do, you have to, this was an example how you can become more fluent. Now what you have to do, take these different reading passages, maybe from Wikipedia, from any book that you have, and then try to read it in different ways, as we just saw in the video earlier. Okay, first smaller parts, then bigger parts, and record yourself and listen to yourself again and again. If you do that, that's the sure shot way of improving your fluency. Okay, don't just listen to anyone who says you should speak too fast, or listen to someone who says you should speak naturally, because what's naturally is different from person to person. Okay, you have to identify your own right speed, your own way of natural speaking. So that's why it's important that you record yourself and you listen to yourself again and again. That's how you will improve. Now, fluency taken care of, the next thing is pronunciation. And mainly the problems with pronunciation are the sounds that we don't get right. Okay, sometimes in a word, we will put more emphasis on one syllable, on one sound, or sometimes we will miss some sounds altogether, and that's what the pronunciation is, the problem is. So To solve your pronunciation problem, you have to identify these sounds that you get wrong. Now let me give you some examples of what these kind of sounds are, right? What these mistakes are. And these examples, they are from my students from different countries. So the Indians, the word here is trouble, but sometimes they will put a lot of emphasis on R. So and they might say trouble, right? And that's not the right pronunciation. So a native speaker will ask you to repeat, sorry, I didn't get you. And if you speak like that, the computer will deduct a mark. Now Vietnamese, so words like convince, they'll often just say convene. They'll miss the last syllable, or they will miss something in the middle. So for example, a word like just, they might pronounce it like jut. So these are the pronunciation mistakes. Colombians, V sound, they'll often pronounce it as B. So instead of a valley, they might say belly. The Nepalese students, so small, they might pronounce it like small, so not getting the S sound clearly. So these are the different kind of pronunciation mistakes. And of course, a lot of people, they will make a number of these mistakes. So it's not that the Nepalese, they make only this S and sh sound mistake, or the Colombians, they make this V and B mistake. They can make more than one. So what you have to do, you have to understand what are these pronunciation mistakes that you make. Okay? And to do that, you have to, like I said earlier, read and record a lot. So take simple passages, but a large number of these passages. Why? Because you want to identify the sounds which you get, wrong most of the times. So if you just take one passage, you might pick, 2 or 3 sounds. But whether you have made that mistake in only that one passage, or whether that's a mistake that you often make, that's what you have to find. To do that, you need to read more passages. So take 5 or 10 passages from Wikipedia or somewhere else, or if you are taking a course, you can ask your teacher. In our Survey English PTE course, we provide these kind of drills, we provide these kind of exercises, materials, which help people identify what are the pronunciation mistakes they are making. So take those passages, record yourself, and listen. Okay? And then maybe put that in and identify what are those common mistakes and put them in an Excel sheet. So make a list. So once, maybe if you have done 20 to 10 20 those passages, you will find, you will suddenly notice, oh, I always make that R sound mistake. I always make miss this S sound in the middle of the word. Okay? And then those are the sounds that you have to improve. And the way to improve them, again, just record yourself again and again and listen. The more you speak, the more you record yourself, the more you correct yourself, it will become a habit. And this exercise, actually it's worth it, because if you improve your pronunciation and fluency, as we discussed earlier, it solves not just your PTE problems, but it also improves your language for the long run, later on for getting a job, or for other things in life. So definitely worth putting your time and effort into this. So as I said, it will just come down to those handful of mistakes. So when you make a list, you might find that, yeah, these are the 5 sounds that I don't get right. Then just work on those 5 sounds, because those 5 sounds will probably appear in 90% of the speaking tasks, and because of that, you will see a big improvement in your speaking score. So just fix those few mistakes and you will see big improvement. Now these things, they are some short-term measures which you can do to solve your speaking problems for PTE. But for the long term, as I said, put in some time every day, even if just 20 minutes or 10 minutes a day. Listen and speak. Listen to English news, watch English news, speak. The more you listen and the more you speak, your mind will get used to it. And that's the only way to improve in the long term. Alright? So now I've shared with you some simple methods, the mistakes that we make, and some sure short ways of improving those mistakes. So follow those, put in your time and effort, leave a comment. Please like the video if you found this useful, and remember to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss the next lecture. If you have any questions, please also feel free to leave those in the comments. We'll try our best to answer as many as we can. For more resources or a PTE course, remember to check the surewayenglish.com website. All the very best.